So funny. So I've never really aspired to be, who was it? Who was Monty Hall first, and now who is it? Oh dear. No, that's the other show. Anyway, let's make a deal. So I need a helper today for this game. Noah, can you help me? We got to find some things. We want to see what we can see today. All right. So now I do not have my little friend here, his little friend with $100 bills, but I thought we could play the game anyway. We're going to have like a scavenger hunt. I don't know if you've ever done a scavenger hunt where you try to find things. All right. We're going to see if we can find things in this room. Okay. All right. So we're going to see if the folks have some of the things that we're looking for. All right. So I'm wondering if anybody here has lipstick or chapstick. You think anybody in this room has lipstick or chapstick? Anybody? Anybody? And if somebody, the first person, oh, there we go. Linda, go to Linda, see if she has it. Go see if she has lipstick or chapstick. She has to show it to you. Is that lipstick or chapstick? Show it. Oh, what color is it? Red. Okay. Thank you, Linda. Very good. All right. Then I wondered if anybody does anybody have a musical instrument? Okay. All right. You didn't bring that with you, but, oh, okay. All right. What is she pointing to? What's Michelle pointing to? She pointed to the piano, but now what's she pointing to? Well, but what part of her? Look, what is she pointing to?
Sings, so my voice.
The voice, up her throat, her voice. Okay, cool, cool, cool. All right, I'm wondering, does anybody who has more hair than I do have a comb or a brush? Linda is prepared with everything. All right, I did not prearrange this with this woman. I've met her before, but I've been in her house, but I did not tell her to bring these things. Let's see, do we have, oh, look, what does Steve have? What does Steve have? Comb, is that like a hair or a brush or something for the hair? All right, cool, that'll work. All right, very good. All right, does anybody, Jesus tells a story about a woman that gives money to the poor and she only has 2 pennies. Do you think anybody in here has 2 pennies? Oh, look at Kathy. Go see if Kathy has 2 pennies. Oh, what does she got? What does she got? She's counting out lots. What does she have, Noah? You know what those are? Coins. Okay. Great. All right. Very good. Now, put that in the offering plate in the back. Right there. Thank you so much. That wasn't a ploy. It really wasn't. If it was, I would have asked for anybody who had $100 bills. But anyway. No, we're not done. We're not done. Because I'm going to kind of turn this into I Spy. So I'm going to see if you can find things, okay? And this is an easy one for you because you're our acolyte today. Can you find anything that's burning on fire? Where? Where? In this room? Something that's burning. Cool. What are those? Okay. And all this season, we've been singing about God shining on us and being the light in our lives. Okay, cool, cool, cool. How about, can you find a book in this room? Where? Show me a book. Mom has a book. Awesome. What book does Mom have? A Bible. All right. Can you find somebody in this room that has black hair? I know, that eliminates a lot of people. Somebody with black hair. I was hoping that Daniel would come today. Do we know his name? Find out his name. Ask his name. Can you ask him his name? Thank you.
I'm Daniel. Nice to meet you.
You want to tell him your name? Awesome. Very cool. All right. Thank you, Noah. Very good job. Can you find anybody in this room that has blue eyes? Oh, that's hard. Do you have blue eyes? I was wondering. They're blue, they're gray, they're green. They're like, Mom, do they like go all over the place? His eyes? Yeah, they're hazel. They're really cool. Yeah, yeah. Anybody else in the room with blue eyes? Can you find anybody with blue eyes? I think Al has blue eyes. I think. Go see. Okay, what's his name? What's his name? No, go ask him. Go ask him his name. Tell him your name. All right, let's give Noah a hand. He did a really great job. So after you find your new pastor, you can watch me on CNN. I'll have the game show that we're...
You do very well.
After Jesus spent that whole night on the mountain in prayer alone, he came out of there and onto the plain and had a vision. He had a vision, and he explained this vision of a new kind of community where he saw all kinds of people. And in last week's gospel lesson, Jesus talked about the people that were blessed and the people that were cursed. It was kind of uncomfortable as to what side we were on, because all of us who were well-fed and well-housed and well-employed and everything else were on the cursed side, and everybody that was poor and lonely and mistreated and ridiculed, they were on the blessed side. Jesus had a vision of a world that was topsy-turvy from the world that everybody expected. And yet it was a vision that was very attractive to people who had been pushed aside and maligned and hurt or had sorrow in their lives. Because even those who were grieving were understood to be under God's special blessing and special claim to be God's children. And it's interesting, I don't know if you caught it, I did not catch it. It was a commentary I was listening to. This gospel passage starts out, and if any of you are still listening, so Jesus was like, after he did that sermon that blew everybody else away, because remember, the first sermon almost got him pushed off of a cliff. And then this sermon is all about the people that are blessed and the people that are poor and the people that are cursed and the people that have everything. And so Jesus goes, if you're still listening, I want to share with you this vision I have for a world that is transformed, a world of community and communion. And it's powerful. And Jesus calls people into that world to love your enemies, to give without expectation of return, and to forgive one another. What a community. But I don't think that Jesus is setting forth world economic policy. I don't think that's what this is about. I think this is about how can we possibly do those things? How can we really forgive somebody unless we know who they are and what they're going through and what's going on? Unless we build a relationship, unless we listen and get to know. So I think Jesus is inviting us, because in this moment too, he chooses the disciples. He didn't just willy-nilly pick a dozen people out of the crowd. I think he knew who they were. He knew their hopes, their aspirations. He knew their frustrations and their sorrows. He knew their urgings and their wishes. He knew that they weren't quite there yet, but they wanted to get there. And so he chose them because he could see in them something of the future. He knew them. I think Jesus is asking us to get to know. Otherwise, how can we practice this give without expectation of return? How can we practice forgiving? How can we practice turning the other cheek? How can we practice unbridled generosity unless we really know? That's when we are moved to give, to care, to serve, to forgive, to go alongside. When we really know what's going on in somebody else's life and we really know who they are. That's when we are changed and transformed, and our relationship with them is transformed. So what we talked about last week was McGee's book on spiritual practices and social justice, and that mindfulness, prayer, and meditation was so essential. And I'm continue to go back to Jesus spending that whole night on the mountain in prayer. He didn't go from there and lead some solitary life of prayer and meditation. He moved out and created community because he had spent time in prayer and nourishment of his soul. I don't think you and I can do what this gospel asks us to do. We look at it and we listen to it and we say, are you kidding me? This is difficult. I'm tired of turning the other cheek. I'm sore. I'm tired of forgiving when no one comes back. I'm tired of giving when I'm the one that's hurting. And when I'm in fear and not sure of who's out there. How can we do any of this unless our soul is nourished? Paul talks about it taking on a spiritual body, being nourished like a seed, and then being transformed. McGee talks about us mindfully accepting the world as it is and being aware of what's going on. So contemplating that the world is in trouble, contemplating and knowing that there are deep fractions and there's war and there's poverty and that there are people in trouble and in sorrow and in pain, and knowing that that's true and being aware, but then turning that into knowing the people. LaShawn Hawkins, who spoke here at Martin Luther King Day, I caught this morning, this was not originally part of things, but it flashed across Facebook this morning, a post that she made, and she said, talking about color blindness, because often we want to say, okay, I don't see color. I see just everybody is all the same. She challenges that, and she says, I see no color is not the goal. I see your color, and I honor you. I value your input. I will educate myself about your trauma and troubles and experiences. I will work against the racism that harms you. You are beautiful, and I will try to do better. God obviously thinks that having a tapestry of diversity is important. That's what makes the whole picture. A picture that's nothing but a white wall is, I'm sure someone will tell me there's an artwork somewhere that looks like that, but is not it. It's an amazing tapestry that needs all the knots and the breaking threads and the colors and the bumps and all of us, but to see each one of them. So I want to leave you with this story that came in my class this past week as we were looking at spirituality and social justice. One of the pastors, who's pastor of an urban church, told this story of something that happened at their church. People who are housing insecure, homeless, started coming to the church. I don't know whether it was the music that was inviting. I don't know if it was the warm space on a bitter cold day. I don't know, it was the heavily laden coffee hour afterwards, the non-discriminatory greeting of the people in the congregation, the welcoming of them back, to just giving them a space and peace. But the homeless came, and I don't know if you've seen people with their grocery carts. Everything is in the grocery cart. All their possessions, all their worth, everything, and to be protected. Well, they couldn't get the grocery cart into the church, so they needed to leave them outside. And that was very scary for them. It's very unnerving for them. And the pastor went to the trustees and said, we got a problem. We got these grocery carts right outside the church. And they're kind of parked next to the BMWs and the Nissans and everything else. And the trustees pondered this. What do we do? The trustees actually took turns taking watch, standing guard, and made sure nothing happened to the grocery carts. That were not just the cars, but were the houses of the people who had no homes. It was all there, and it was their banks. It was everything. And the people in the church got to know them enough to realize what that was. That it wasn't just a bunch of stuff sitting in a cart. It was their everything. And the church knew them enough to provide safety and security and peace of mind for them so they could come in and worship. They could come in and pray. They could come have a moment, an hour, without the bitter cold, without someone fighting with them, or without someone arresting or accosting them. Maybe they could get a meal at coffee hour or after. I don't know the rest of that. But the whole class was just astounded and silent when our friend told this story. And I said, that's what generous hospitality is all about. And that's what Jesus is calling us to do. How can we give without expecting return unless we know what really the life story is of the person? So our job, sisters and brothers, siblings in Christ, is to get to know, is to mindfulness, wholly listen, and maybe sit in our own meditation and ask the question, who are they? What's going on in their lives? What have they been through? What are they yearning for? What are they struggling against? What are they hoping for? Who are they? And maybe like Noah, we need to not just stare at somebody, but ask them their name and give them ours and give them space. I think this crazy, radical vision of Jesus can only happen as we get to know folks. Many who are not like us at all, are not like the one we see in the mirror. But we are called to be mindful and to meditate. And in McGee's teaching that we started last week, to investigate. It's okay to ask questions and get to know. Thanks be to God. And amen.